ain't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Eevee and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's your boy Ernie the Blerd Without Fear. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another round of the best comics this week. The show where I take 5 of the best comics I read each and every new comic book day and give you a brief overview about them and why you might want to check them out, and also put you on game about indie titles, trades, and even some other comics that have yet to come out. Put you on game about. And to make sure that you don't miss out on any of the comic book goodness, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell. That way you don't miss anything. And while you're here, hit that like button too if you enjoy the video. That way, YouTube will recommend more videos just like this one. Doesn't even have to be mine, but just more videos like this one right to you. All right, so let's get started off with The Moon is Following Us, number 10. This is the finale for The Moon is Following Us series, and man, it does not disappoint. Daniel Warren Johnson has turned in what I think is, I think this actually might be his best work. I'm gonna do something very hyper unusual for the best comics this week. I usually like to do like a kind of a brief overview, try to keep it spoiler light, but this is one of those that I'm gonna speak very carefully about it just for a little bit, and then we're gonna get into the next one because I really want a lot of the stuff that you can experience in this book for you to see it for yourself. But just know that over the course of the past couple of issues, Sam and Duncan, the mother and father of the child involved in the story, Penny, they have been fighting tooth and nail inside of Penny's mind, trying to save her from this unusual sleep disorder that she's suddenly fallen ill with at the beginning of the series. And while they have been doing everything they can, fighting alongside her hopes and her dreams, even her nightmares, to try and save her from the cascade, we get to see Sam and Duncan in ways that I think, especially if you are a parent, you'll see this, and I think you'll feel some level of pride within it, but fighting in ways that only a parent could for their child, knowing that this could potentially be the last thing they ever do, and laying it all out on the line to get Penny back safe and sound. But also in the midst of all this, we get to see Penny have a little bit of a moment herself, and in a lot of ways do some things that I think, like, if you are a parent, you have probably witnessed your own child do when they were much younger. Things that I feel like we take for granted now, but seeing it framed in the way that it was in this issue made it so incredibly just heart-touching, and I'm not gonna lie, I think it got some tears out of your boy. Seeing this story come to a close, seeing Sam, Duncan, and Penny take it to Pigface, who has been looming large over the entire series, though not so much that Pigface takes away from the heartfelt moments and the really epic moments that we get to see from our main character. I think this is the absolute best Daniel Warren Johnson book that I have ever read. I would have said, if you would have asked me before having finished this, I would have said it was close, but it's better. I think it's the best. I thought that Do a Powerbomb was the best Daniel Warren Johnson had ever done, but now that I've read this, I'm like, ugh, man, this The Moon is Following Us is the best. And the thing is, that's not a small feat, because I just want to point out, we're talking about a guy who has delivered things like Murder Falcon, Space Mullet, Extremity, Wonder Woman Dead Earth, Beta Ray Bill, and of course Do a Powerbomb, and also the current running Transformer series. Yeah, this is no small feat. I feel like he has outdone himself with The Moon is Following Us. Now, our next entry is going to be Absolute Green Lantern number 3. The Absolute Green Lantern series has quickly been becoming my favorite out of the entire Absolute line. It is just a book that keeps on delivering. It's right up there for me with Absolute Wonder Woman. In this particular one, we spend a majority of this issue really focusing on the mystery of the gold ring. This is something that's been going on since the first issue, and it's pretty much what I had long posited that it was, but we're going to talk about it just very briefly right here for those who had not been keeping up with Absolute Green Lantern since the first issue, we have been noticing that sometimes the panels would focus on certain objects of a very specific color, typically yellow, or more specifically, gold. And we would see that in instances where both Hal Jordan's Black Hand would oftentimes ignore gold objects. Not saying that they had to actually be made of gold, but were just the color gold. And then on top of that, we saw when Abin Sur had erected the giant Green Lantern logo across the city, basically creating a green wall, trapping in the residents of Evergreen within it. We saw that a motorcyclist ran into that green wall, and the only thing that seemed to survive the complete and utter implosion from that impact was a gold earring, and it actually made it from the outside of the green wall to the inside of it. Now, this is something that calls back to the classic weakness of the Green Lantern Corps. The idea of the color yellow being the weakness of the color green. And in this particular instance, this is kind of a way to put a little bit of parity between the Absolute Universe and the Prime Earth continuity, because for the most part, Green Lantern has not had to deal with the yellow weakness in quite some time. When you get to this aspect of it with the Absolute Universe, it kind of creates a statement of intent that this is going to be a very different world than the one that we're used to seeing Hal Jordan and John Stewart and Joe Mullen move in. Speaking of those characters, we get to spend a good bit of time with each of them, more specifically John Stewart, because he's the one who's going to be kind of noodling around on the idea of whether or not this color gold beats green idea actually holds water. But we do also get to see Hal and Joe have it out a little bit and kind of see how the Black Hand is manipulating Hal and also making him act a little bit out of character even for the Absolute Universe, but also seeing how Joe is learning to control the Green Lantern, spectrum of power, even if she doesn't realize it. By the end of this issue, we also learn no one is safe, and that's all I'll really say about that. But the question will ultimately be, I think, for a lot of readers, what is Abin Sur actually doing to the people he judges? Are they actually dead, or are they going somewhere else? All right, now let's get into one of my favorite segments, Fuck Shit of the Week. For this week, something cropped up while I was, scrolling on social media on Threads. I saw a post, and I have a very specific way of dealing with trolls and bigots on social media. Generally speaking, when I see a troll or a bigot, I often advise people to not engage with that person. Don't click like or dislike, depending on what platform you're on. In this case, there's only the like button, but I often say don't even comment on it thinking that, oh, you're gonna own this person so hard that you are gonna turn this whole thing around. No, don't do any of that. Don't engage with them at all. That's what I say. Typically what I do with trolls is I screenshot them and share that. I don't make anything about what they do clickable in any way, shape, form, or fashion that helps them on any level. Now, if you decide you want to go look that person up yourself, that's on you. But for me, ultimately, I like to remove that. So what I did is this week, I saw someone make a post that kind of slick went viral, but not in the way I think the original poster had actually intended. There's a social media user who goes by the name Waylon22 2002, I'm assuming is what that's supposed to read like. But basically they said something to the tune of Pride Month is no longer a thing. Oh, and honestly, I thought it was kind of funny, but not for the reasons that he probably thought it was funny. I thought it was funny because, well, at the time that this was posted, this was about roughly just 2 days into June, which for a lot of people is Pride Month. It's kind of hilarious when someone is so loud and bigoted, but also at the same time looking very ignorant at the same time. You see, it was funny to me because, well, fuck this guy. But also, wow, this guy has to be incredibly dumb because he's wearing a Deadpool mask in his profile pic. And I always find people who are bigots, especially bigots towards the LGBTQIA+ community, I always find them incredibly weird and sus. because you're being a bigot while wearing the face of a person from the community that you're making fun of or being derogatory towards. A lot of people, I think, tend to not pay attention to the fact that Deadpool is of the LGBTQIA plus spectrum. More specifically, he is pansexual. And this isn't something that is like, oh, yo, you guys are just making this shit up. No, this actually comes from one of the creators of Deadpool himself, Rob Liefeld. Now, I will also say that this is one of those a stopped clock is right situations, or broken clock is, right situations, because, like, I don't really mess with Rob Liefeld at any level, so the fact that I'm agreeing with Rob Liefeld on something in 2025 is wild to me. But even Rob Liefeld had receipts that basically said as much, that yes, Deadpool is LGBTQIA+. He is specifically pansexual. I actually have it right here. Now, this is from an interview that Rob Liefeld did with MTV. Said to the tune that, last year I was at a convention and towards the end of the day, a group of teenagers walked up to me. They all hugged me and thanked me for this pansexual character, and it really touched my heart. Ryan has really gone out of his way to emphasize that, and what I will tell you is that A, it was great meeting all those kids, and B, when you ask about canon, it's important to note that there are really two canons now. Fox controls and speaks for the film version, while Marvel controls and speaks for the publishing. Now, granted, keep in mind, this is back before the Disney-Fox deal, if this tells you how long ago this conversation took place. Deadpool was in no danger of being in the MCU at the time Rob Liefeld was talking about this. I just wanted to make sure we focus on that just for a split second. But to continue on, he says that when it comes to canon, I'm not sure you're going to get a unanimous consensus on that. I don't believe Marvel has addressed it, and I'm not sure if they will. It's something that I think was introduced on the film end. If it happens in the film, you bet Ryan will play it with great heart. Anything that's all inclusive, that's great. But as far as canon, that's above my pay grade. And then the person interviewing him responded that he's very flirtatious on the page. And Liefeld carried on saying, it is the aspect of Deadpool we love the most. His flamboyant flippancy, he wears everything on his sleeve. And to further clarify, he even later posted on Twitter basically saying, also on record with Deadpool as pansexual. To those trying to assign controversy where there is none, please consider the facts. And in that same tweet, he showcased the interview question I literally just read to you, but also some other instances where he basically said, I know Ryan has said that he'd love for Deadpool to have a boyfriend at some point. He also talked about he's perfectly okay with the films pushing the boundaries of his sexuality even further. So yeah, if one of the co-creators of Deadpool is more than happy for that character to be something, even though maybe it wasn't exactly what he had originally intended, I think it's safe to say that yes, it is what it is at this point. So the whole thing about being a bigot who is both loud and wrong at the same time is definitely a choice in 2025, and most importantly, even above all that, it's fuck shit. Alright, next up, we're gonna jump into Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion #1. This is a series that, while I was excited for, I wasn't really sure how excited for the series I was gonna be. For one, I was already in for a penny, in for a pound, just based on the fact that this was gonna be a series that is written by a couple of people who I really admire. Both Denise Camp and Cody Ziegler. So, yeah, I was like, I'm in. I'm in for a penny, in for a pound on this. This is a series that is not necessarily doing anything new in regards to the characters of Miles Morales and Peter Parker, but definitely doing something that we have seen before with what I think is a really nice twist. What do I mean by that? Well, basically, since Ultimate Invasion had come out in 2023, one of the biggest mysteries of that story arc was that what was Miles Morales' answer to the Maker's offer. And while I think it's safe to say we kind of could infer what it was he was offering, an opportunity to get his world back, considering that the Maker and Miles Morales are two of the only actual survivors of the original Earth 1610, the original Ultimate Marvel continuity, it's pretty safe to say he was offering a chance to go back home, because you know what they say, you can never go back home again. So it was one of those opportunities for Miles to actually subvert that trope. In this, we see exactly what Miles' answer was. We see that he didn't take it. He didn't bite. He took the glowing business card that the Maker gave him and he yeeted it into the trash can. But unfortunately for Miles Morales, someone else in his household decided to go dumpster diving that day. And it's his baby sister, Billy. She dug into his trash can and found the little glowing shiny, and she decided that it was something that she wanted to play with. And in the midst of all that, transported herself and her big brother Miles to the new Ultimate Universe, Earth 6160. And this issue gives us what I was kind of alluding to earlier in terms of showing us a familiar setup, but giving it to us in a very different way. Since Miles Morales made his debut in the original Ultimate Marvel Comics universe, we have seen Miles travel from Earth 1610 to Earth 616 and team up with Peter Parker not once, but twice before and after the events of Secret Wars. And then, of course, after Secret Wars, it became more of a regular thing because Miles was now officially part of Earth 616. So we saw them team up regularly, and especially considering the more recent Spectacular Spider-Men series that was done by Gargoyles and Young Justice creator Greg Weisman, we now get to see it all over again, but once again with that twist. So it's not just Miles from Earth 1610, now a refugee in Earth 616, traveling to the new Ultimate Universe of Earth 6160 to team up with the Peter Parker of that Earth, the now Ultimate Spider-Man, also teaming up with Peter Parker's son, Richard Parker, who now also operates as Spider-Man. Even more interesting, considering that the special technology that creates the suit that Richard uses to be Spider-Man is, for all intents and purposes, the Venom symbiote of the Ultimate Marvel Comics universe now, which is really an interesting dynamic considering the fact that Miles doesn't really mess with Venom like that, even on Earth 616, because Venom holds a dark place in Miles Morales' heart, largely due to the fact that Venom is slick responsible for the death of Miles Morales' mother in the original Ultimate Marvel continuity. And by the time you get to Earth 616, his interactions with Eddie Brock are, they're there, he's had them, to be sure, but they're not friends. So the fact that, in this universe, we now have a Richard Parker, the son of Ultimate Peter Parker, who is enamored with the idea of Miles Morales, seeing him as cool, kind of looking to him in a very similar way as maybe when Miles used to look to Peter Parker in his universe. And also at the same time, you can see that there's a little bit of disappointment in Miles's heart and in his mind in regards to the Ultimate Peter Parker, because this is a Peter Parker who has only been active for about roughly a year. He is a brand new superhero, and he's also a lot older, so he's had time to learn how to be afraid of the bad guys before he actually became a good guy himself. Even with the spider powers, he's still figuring his shit out. All the while this is crazy and awesome and interesting, we can't forget the Maker is still out there. And the villains who used to work with the Maker, they are also still out there. And now that the Maker is making his presence known yet again in Earth 6160, the villains of the Ultimate Marvel Universe are now starting to make their own moves in lockstep and maybe even against. And also, this is something that's going to become so big that even the Ultimates themselves are eventually going to have to get involved. Next up is going to be Radiant Black number 34. I know what you're thinking. What the hell is Radiant Black doing on this list? I thought Blerd Without Fear had turned around on Radiant Black. This was a series that I used to be super duper mega ultra into and had loved it for 20, 23, maybe 24 some odd issues, all the way up until they did that really silly fan voting gimmick that ultimately wound up with it not really mattering in the long run. Some of you might remember that, there was a fan vote. Who is going to become the new Radiant Black? Is it going to be Nathan? Is it going to be Marshall? And you get to vote, and whoever wins the fan vote, that is who is going to be Radiant Black going forward. And while technically, yes, they did deliver on it, it basically meant that we had to be drugged through, I believe it was issues 25 through 30 where we had an A issue and a B issue. And the A issues would be about, Marshall having been Radiant Black, and the B issues were like an alternate timeline where Nathan stayed as Radiant Black. And while it all led to a really nice and interesting story by the time it was done, it was one of those things that just felt kind of predatory, in a lot of respects. At first, when they did it, the issues weren't that much different, except for maybe like who was Radiant Black. And then as, after the first issue of that arc, it got a little better. And I'm saying all this to kind of let you guys know that, because it kind of seems like I'm hemming and hawing at this, but I'm really just saying all this so you guys kind of know where I'm at on this series and why I'm talking about it now. And that's because after that story arc, yes, Marshall, who to my understanding did actually win the fan vote, he is Radiant Black. Nathan is not in the picture anymore, at least not as far as being Radiant Black goes. And now it's how do you move on from that? Nathan has gone off to, follow and pursue his dreams of being a screenwriter. Well, Marshall is now left to pick up the pieces in the wake of the Catalyst War, a war in which he was face to face with an alternate reality version of himself who had lost his whole damn mind. And yeah, a lot of people died. There was lots of sacrifices, and some of the characters who started at the beginning of the Catalyst War, they're not there anymore. Now, in the wake of the fallout of that, there are people from that alternate timeline who have found their way into the current timeline and are basically timeline refugees. People who are now in this timeline, but also still have the memories of the previous one, meaning that they don't like Radiant Black very much. And that's kind of what this whole issue cements. There's been a new villain that has been popping up all over the place since the new story arc kicked off with Radiant Black number 31. And that new villain named Jaeger, he has made it his entire life's mission to destroy Radiant Black. Or at the very least, if not destroy him, give him an opportunity to leave Earth before he damages it the way he damaged Jaeger's original reality. And what I love about this, and why I feel like, man, we are so back with Radiant Black, is that not only did Jaeger come across from his original reality to this current reality and now wants to get revenge on Marshall, but also he's not stopping at Marshall. He's willing to go after any and everyone who Marshall is connected to. It doesn't matter if it's one of the other Radiants, and it also does not matter if it's someone in his family. And by the time you get to the very last page of issue number 34, you will have full understanding of just how dastardly Jaeger can be when it comes to getting revenge on Radiant Black. Alright, so now it's time to do a little trade spotting, and this time I actually have something that I want to share with you guys, and that is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Library Edition. This is the first 6 issues of the Jason Aaron written Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series. You guys have probably seen me do videos about the Jason Aaron series, whether it was on here on Best Comics this week, or if it was just in individual videos. Whatever the case is, I think it's no small secret that I'm very high on this series that Jason Aaron's been putting together. And this library edition, which by the way was sent to me courtesy of IDW, because they know how much I love me some Ninja Turtles. I'm over the moon for this series, if it's not obvious. One of the things I love about this, in this library edition, is that not only are we getting the first 6 issues of Jason Aaron's story, but we are also getting one of my personal favorite things, and it's always going to be in the back matter of the book. But yeah, like we get to see really awesome moments like these. We get to see some really nice art in here. You're going to get to see the the book as it is, the issues standards they are. But these are the things I really get excited about when it comes to these types of books. We get to actually see the pages before they have been colored in any way, shape, form, or fashion. We also get to take a little bit of a look at the script of the story, just a little bit. You get a couple. I think there's like a couple of pages in here where we get to see some of that stuff and see how the book, especially from the first issue, this is the script of the first issue, how you kind of get to see where the book was with the script, and then how it ultimately tuned out when it came to dropping the inks and then the colors and then the letters, getting to kind of see that process play its way out. There's even a part where you get to see the actual story outline that was used to pitch the series in the first place. But yeah, this is great, and once again, I'm not going to really talk about any spoilers for this, but just know that you're getting full color in this. It is fantastic looking. We're getting to see each of the individual issues as each turtle is kind of finding their way back to the fold, starting out with Raphael, working the way over to Michelangelo, then to Leonardo, and then to Donatello. We even get, as a little extra added bonus, a little bit of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Alpha one-shot that gave us a preview of what at the time we didn't know, but would ultimately be issue 4. So you actually start this out with Donatello as opposed to Raphael, and then follow the story out from there until we get back to Donatello, and then all 4 turtles working together, and whether or not there's any love lost. That is, like I said, it's fantastic. This series is great. If you've not been checking it out, you should totally do so. I got this copy early, so this actually is not out yet. This will not be out until June 24th, I believe. And to my understanding, this retails for $49.99. I will leave a link in the description below where you can, go pre-order it, try and get this in your hands, because like I say, if you're a TMNT fan, there's no way you don't want this. Trust me, it's good. Once again, shout out to both IDW and Penguin Random House for hooking this up. All right, so last and most certainly not least, we're actually going to be talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles once again, but not the Jason Aaron series. We're going to be talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Naruto number 4. That's right, the finale of the crossover series that I never thought in my wildest dreams I would ever see happen. Seeing Team 7 from Naruto going toe-to-toe, or rather working toe-to-toe alongside the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And in the finale, where we're at right now is that, since issue number 1, the Turtles and Team 7, they were already working together towards a common goal, realizing that they had a common enemy. And by the time you get to issue number 3 is ultimately where the Turtles and Team 7 have to take the fight to the Shredder. And it's because Splinter and April O'Neil have been captured, as well as the canister of ooze that April was entrusted with, that she has brought back to Big Apple Village. And now that that canister is in the Shredder's clutches, he has used it to turn himself into an all-new, all-different Super Shredder. That's where we pick up with issue number 4, and the Turtles and Team 7 are taking it to him all the way. Hard in the paint. This is a hard in the paint battle, a brawl for it all between 2 of the most iconic superhero style characters and anime characters you could ever imagine. And we're getting to see the Turtles and Team 7 combine their maneuvers in ways that are just chef's kiss. But also seeing a new look for this version of Super Shredder that is very reminiscent of the Super Shredder we had seen in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Secret of the Ooze, but also a Super Shredder that kind of almost has more of an anime vibe to him that I'm kind of feeling. It's kind of nasty work, I'm not gonna hold you. The kind of bat wing with fingers, that whole deal, it's nasty work, but I'm here for it. It looks like something that would come from Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk. It was kind of crazy. But yes, we can see a version of Oroku Saki who is big, bad, and totally unstoppable, and our heroes are caught in the middle of the fight for their lives, but we also get to see some really cool character turns from some of our supporting cast, as well as I said earlier, some really interesting TMNT Naruto mashup techniques. The best part too is that without breaking either side from a narrative perspective, every character gets to show out a little and showcase the type of character that they truly are, especially Naruto, in moments where there is a temptation to use the nine-tailed fox spear trapped within himself, but also in such a way that it doesn't betray the storytelling we have seen from Naruto up to the point that this story ultimately takes place for Naruto and the rest of the gang. Like I said, this is amazing because we get to see the heroes in a half shell, as well as the Leaf Village's finest, really do what they do best and work together in a way that the gods intended. This is easily probably my favorite crossover, and I gotta admit, I'm not a big crossover guy. I think I've been very vocal about the fact that by and large, I generally don't particularly care for them very much because while normally I think the only people who really win in this are the fans, and that's always a good thing, I just feel like sometimes characters have to be written a certain way or written out of character in order for the mashups to actually work on a way that makes any sense whatsoever. And in this, no one is written out of place. No one is treated as lesser than what you expect them to be. So yeah, in terms of crossovers and things of that nature going forward, I think that this series, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Naruto, I think this series has done something that I honestly have not seen done quite as well, except for maybe with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ghostbusters and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Power Rangers crossovers, and that's actually make these characters from two completely different things work together in the same space at the same time. All right, so now it's time to talk about the pull box report. Now, I'm only going to give one suggestion for the pull box this week, and it's actually going to be Street Sharks. Yes, the Street Sharks animated series of the 90s is making a comeback, baby, and it is crunch time in 2025. So we have a new series to be coming up, written by friend of the channel, Stephanie Williams. Some of you may or may not know, was the writer of the Nubia, Queen of the Amazons, and Nubia and the Amazons series. And not just for DC, she's written for Marvel as well, over on the Captain America side of things, as well as with Nightshade and in the Spider-Man Unlimited category. Like I said, she's out here. But yes, she has been tapped to write the Street Sharks series, and it's going to be coming out this September. It looks like it's going to be fantastic. If you want to get a feel for the artist of the series, Ariel Medel, he did work on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Street Fighter crossover, so that kind of gives you a really strong idea of what he's capable of as well. This is going to be a 5-issue series, and as these things usually tend to go, I imagine if IDW were to catch wind of the fact that people were buying this series, pre-ordering this series, I'm pretty sure they would be more likely to upgrade that to getting more issues if you want to get more of that. I usually see people complain, it was like, oh, it's only 5 issues. I always have to tell people, if you want to get 50-something issues of anything, you're gonna have to buy those first 5. So just putting that out there. That's how the business works. But yes, I'm excited for this, and I will say what I say all the time. Go ask for these at your LCS. Talk to the person behind the counter. Tell them that you want books like this. If you want Street Sharks, you have to go to them and say, hey, can you put Street Sharks in my pull box? Put the whole series in there, because that goes a long way towards ensuring that the comics you want are actually going to be at the shop when you go to it. I recently had an experience just this past week, and have talked to some people who have been experiencing this as well, that some comic shops won't even order books if there's no one out there putting them in their pull box. I actually found out that one of my local shops did not even order Eisner Award-winning series Bitter Root. That was insane to me, okay? That was insane to me that they would not even order an Eisner Award-winning series. weren't even ordering Kieran Gillen's Power Fantasy, one of the most talked about books from Image Comics right now. Wasn't even ordering that. And I'm not trying to put them on blast. That's why I'm not saying their name. But I'm just saying that, like, yeah, even really amazing comics that people want to check out. Yeah, comic shops aren't going to order them if people aren't asking for them. So don't be surprised if you don't put Street Sharks in your pull box and you're one of those people who wants it and you walk into your LCS and they tell you, yeah, man, we didn't order it. Yeah, don't be shocked. They're not just ordering these books just because. So I'm just putting that out there. If you want Street Sharks, and I'm not just saying just Street Sharks, but specifically any comic, ask for it to be put in your pull box. But more specifically, ask for Street Sharks in your pull box. I'm trying to see something, okay? Get it in the pull box. Anyway, that is the best comics this week. I hope you all enjoyed it, and yeah, thank you all so much for the love and the energy. And before you get out of here, if you haven't done so already, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button, tap that notification bell, so that way you don't miss out on more videos just like these, and also, hit that like button too, because if you're still up to this point, you hadn't hit the like button, come on, man, help a brother out, man, help me, come on. Help me help you. But no, also, I also got other videos around here too that you might find very interesting, so go check them out if you think it's something that, might tickle your fancy. Anyway, keep it plus ultra until the next best comics this week. Peace.